We are back with Bison Overtime.
We're back with Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Mentzel.
Okay, so starting off with football as usual. So last week we covered how they ended their season, and now this show we're going to cover basically some accolades and a preview to next season games. So starting off with some accolades, head coach Matt Ince earned his second FCS National Coach of the Year award in just his third year of coaching.
And that is crazy to think for the Bison, you know, and people always wonder, especially after Coach Chris Kleiman left, even after Bowl left back in 2013, you know, can this team continue a dynasty with a new head coach? And it seems like every time through the ranks, we can find someone within our own coaching tree who can take the role and take that role of head coach very seriously and be great at it. And it's crazy to think that. You think of sports dynasties, a lot of teams, you know, only have one head coach throughout those dynasties, but we have three now.
Yep, and even though it's just his third year of coaching, he's done a great job of continuing the tradition of Bison pride and also continuing the tradition of winning games. And he has an overall record of 37-4, which is not bad as a head coach, even though, like I said, it's just his third year. But yeah, he's doing pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, he's still a young head coach yet. He could have plenty of years here, and you know, who knows if he takes the role down the line in a few years of how Bowl and Kleiman did, where they go to FBS schools possibly eventually. We'll see. That is to be determined, but we still have at least a few more good years of that yet with him as our head coach.
And then defensive coordinator David Braun was named Football Scoops Coordinator of the Year in NCAA Football Subdivision.
Well, this was an outstanding defense this season. The defense made a lot of stands this year, a lot of stands in the red zone. The team, and also in the point differential. The team only allowed more than 20 points in 2 games this year. 2 games. And they allowed 10 or less points in 9 of the 15 games this year. I mean, you're not going to lose a lot of games when your defense is only allowing 10 or less points.
Right. You know, they only allowed 6 rushing touchdowns. So that's why we always highlighted the front, you know, the defensive line, because they were just dominant this season, and only allowing 2.72 yards per carry out of 425 attempts. That's crazy.
And they faced a lot of good teams with rushing this year. The Missouri Valley has always been known for running the ball a whole bunch. Not a lot of air raid offenses. So, and you know, especially against teams like South Dakota State with Pierre Strong, you know, a lot of good running teams against them. But they have played strong this year, like you said. That front four, a lot of upperclassmen there, a lot of guys who have had some time before to play games, so they know what they're doing on that front four.
Yep, and then diving into the players a little bit, Jackson Henke was amongst 50 student athletes to be selected in the FCS Academic All-Star team for the 2021 season.
Jackson Henke has been a great tool to this defense for the last 3 seasons. Started in 2019 as a sophomore and just continued on. I think you have something in your notes about his tackling. He has been a great tackler. He has a nose for that football. He knows where to go. Has been a great field general for this defense, the team captain, and he knows a lot about the sport.
Yeah, he's one of the top tacklers on the team in consecutive years too. The last 3 years, he's definitely leader on the team. We don't know if he's coming back. He hasn't announced that yet, correct? So, you know, hopefully he comes back, because it's just a big question mark of who's coming back and who's leaving.
We do know one person who is coming back, though. Dustin Talbert, captain one-hand interception, is coming back for his 5th year, and, you know, that's great news for our secondary, who we really didn't know before this offseason. A lot of upperclassmen in the secondary, and it looked scary for a while to think that all these guys would be gone, but it seems like some of them are coming back, and Dustin is one of them.
But that also creates a problem, too, because even though, okay, this season, right, Courtney Eubanks was starting and Jalen Price was starting on the other side. Those guys are returning, and you still got other guys like Marquise Bridges that's getting into the mix. So do you think he's going to get that starting job?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to think about how the defense is going to rotate this year, especially considering we still don't know who's coming back. We already had Marquise Siegel. He's going to be answering. And you mentioned Marquise Bridges, one of our former cornerbacks. Unfortunately, though, Marquise Siegel, he did, I believe, enter the transfer portal. So, but the thing is, we do have a lot of guys coming back. Dom Jones will be coming back as well for the secondary, not at that quarterback spot, but as a safety. And, you know, I feel like this defense will still be very strong next year. We got a lot of guys coming back, and like you said, our coach is coming back next year for the D coordinator spot, so I think we'll be fine next year.
Yep, and then looking to the future for our next season, our first 3 weeks, we got some new teams that we haven't seen. Most notably, that stands out to me, is the University of Arizona.
Arizona will be our first FBS matchup since back in 2016 when we beat the 13th nationally ranked Iowa Hawkeyes in Iowa, 23-21. Now, I personally see this as a totally winnable game, and honestly, it kind of loses some of its hype, unfortunately. You look at Arizona last year; they went 1-11 last season. Their only win being against 10-3 at home against California, and Cal was down most of their starters due to COVID. And Arizona also lost to Northern Arizona last year at home, and Northern Arizona is an FCS team. So Arizona, unfortunately, not one of the best FBS teams next year. But on the bright side, like I said, I see this as a totally winnable game.
Right, and I like that game because it brings up the conversation of that. Can NDSU hang with FBS teams? And I know fans won't close your definitely that they always say Power 5. Yep. And like, okay, calm down, we're good, but I want to see where we look amongst the Pac-12 and the Power 5. So but I think we have a chance in that game too.
Yep, and we got 3 Pac-12 games coming up in the next few years. We have that game, and then in 3 years we play against Colorado. And then the game that was originally scheduled for 2020 against Oregon has been moved back to 2028. So that'll be a long while for now, but those are the only FBS teams that we have scheduled for now.
Okay, switching gears to the NFL playoffs. I know you want to vent. The divisional round was crazy.
Oh my
Starting
goodness.
off with the Bengals and Titans, I'd say in the first half it was pretty balanced. The Bengals were up 9-6 at half, and then the Titans tied it up crazy in the fourth quarter. Ryan Tannehill just took a shot downfield to A.J. Brown, caught it with one hand.
The Titans, it was kind of weird. The first play of the game, Ryan Tannehill threw an interception to Bates for the Bengals, and you had to wonder, was the Titans defense going to be able to stand? The Bengals already had a strong offense, and if the Titans offense was going to be making mistakes, this was very worrisome for the Titans. But they did. They only held the Bengals to 9 points in the first half, even with the turnovers. But then, unfortunately, the Bengals took a 16-6 lead after halftime with a Joe Mixon touchdown, which would be their only touchdown of the game.
Yep.
And then Deonta Foreman, who actually took the reins of running, even with Derrick Henry back for the Titans. He had a huge 54-yard run, and you think the Titans are right back in this game. Tannehill throws an interception on the next play. And then, like you said, the Titans came back in the fourth quarter, made it close, tied it up, and then unfortunately just a back-breaking interception with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, that interception late in that game, and then Joe Burrow just going downfield and getting in great field position for a field goal. They just won it.
But how about Evan Mcpherson, the rookie kicker coming in clutch, the rookie out of Florida, 4 field goals and 2 of them from over 50 yards.
Big players perform in big games.
Yep.
It's just like Hunchaluki. But then switching gears to the 49ers and the Packers. See, I'm a Cowboys fan. We got out. You got on me because we got out. Now you guys are out. So I want you to explain yourself what happened this weekend to you guys.
It's going to be a long explanation. So, coming into that game, I felt like the Packers had a shot. The weather was very cold, and we had beaten the 49ers.
The weather was cold?
Yes. Well, I mean, frozen tundra in Lambeau in San Francisco coming from California, it was going to be very tricky for them, you would have thought. The Packers came out starting great. The first drive took over 6.5 minutes off the clock. Perfect execution, 9-play drive. A.J. Dillon gets a touchdown.
Yep.
And then both offenses struggled in the first half after that. It was a bunch of punts back and forth. And then just before halftime, Jimmy Garoppolo throws an interception to Adrian Amos in the end zone, so the Packers get the ball back. And they end up getting a huge play to Aaron Jones. Big pass play and blown coverage, 75 yards all the way to San Francisco's red zone. And then just before halftime, special teams has been a problem for the Green Bay Packers all year. And every Packers fan, all you out there who are Packers fans, you know about how bad our special teams was this year. Blocked field goal before halftime. So then late in the game, Packers took a 10-3 lead heading into the fourth quarter. It seemed like Green Bay had the upper hand, even though their offense couldn't get anything going again. But their defense was making crucial stops. They made a 4th down stop with 5 minutes to go. But then, after another 3-and-out, special teams once again. The punt gets blocked and returned into the end zone for a 40-yard touchdown, and just like that, the game is tied up, and the atmosphere in that stadium died after that, and you could tell that the momentum was all in San Francisco's favor. After another 3-and-out for Green Bay, San Francisco was able to get themselves in the field goal range, and they kicked the walk-off field goal to advance to the NFC Championship game. And for Green Bay, it's going to be a lot of questions heading into the offseason this time around.
Oh, I love to see the Packers and the Vikings lose. I just love it. But then switching to Rams and Bucks, the Rams defense, they just were too much for the Bucks, and especially the O-line. When you got Aaron Donald and you got Von Miller coming on the other side, there's nothing much you can do about that. But Brady was still being Brady, is what I was talking about. He still managed to come back. But ultimately, football is a team game. You also need the defense to step up to, get you on the offense to get some scores. But that's all I got to say about that game.
Rams, you were about 30 seconds away from having me tear you a new one on this show. The Rams, okay, first half, near perfect for the Rams. 27-3 heading into halftime, but Cam Akers had that crucial fumble just before halftime.
Yep.
And you had to wonder, was this going to be the start of something big for the Bucs? And then, the Rams get the ball to start the second half, so it's like, okay, maybe not. Then Cooper Kupp fumbles right away in the second half, and the Bucs eventually get a touchdown out of that.
Yep.
Then the Rams get another fumble. Or no, sorry, the Bucs fumbled because Von Miller strip sacked Tom Brady, and it's like, okay, that defense is coming in clutch. Next play, literally the next play, snap goes way over Stafford's head. Bucs recover that fumble and eventually get a touchdown. So now they're back within 2 touchdowns, so they're back in this game with a quarter left. They get the Bucs get a touchdown late in the game with only about 3 minutes left, so now they're only down by a touchdown. But the thing is, all the Rams need to do is get 1 first down, and this game's over. And what does Cam Akers do? Coughs up the football, and the Bucs recover, and just like that, the Bucs tie it up with only 1 minute left. But then, thankfully, Cooper Kupp, who has had a legendary year, gets them in the field goal range, and the Rams end up winning.
Yep, and then the Bills versus the Chiefs, the battle of the offenses. Man, that game was crazy. 25 points in the last 2 minutes. Jeez, I knew that game was going to be just a high-scoring game because you got Josh Allen and you got Pat Mahomes. I told you Pat Mahomes is a competitor. He's just not going to let the game, he's going to want to win that game under any circumstance. But, both of them have the never die attitude. I love that game.
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, that's going to be the new Manning versus Brady matchup in the playoffs, I feel like, in the AFC in the future. That game was probably the top 5 all-time in football. Gabriel Davis, their coming out party, 4 touchdowns receiving. Unfortunately, still not enough, though. It came down to who had the ball last in regulation, and basically the coin toss in overtime determined the victor of that game.
Yep, and then coming up this weekend, we got the Bengals taking on the Chiefs, and then we got the 49ers facing the Rams. I got the Chiefs, and I got the Rams.
Meanwhile, for me, I have both of the road teams. I got 49ers versus Bengals in a rematch of 2 Super Bowls from the 80s.
Yeah, well, you guys have to definitely tune into that game. I feel like those games are going to be crazy. He's going to lose, so we'll definitely have to put money on that game. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into men's and women's basketball. Stay tuned.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today, so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
there are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
Welcome back. And now we're going to get into men's and women's basketball. Starting off with the men's this previous Saturday, they played Oral Roberts away too, and they got the close games, winning 72-71. Big game, like I said last week. I love this matchup. It's always a show. we got the dub.
We mentioned this was an important game for both teams. Oral Roberts needed this win to keep up with South Dakota State for #1 in the Summer League Conference, whereas North Dakota State, if they lost this game, they may have fallen back to 5th in the conference standings. So this was a huge game for both teams.
It was the whole game. It was neck and neck. You know, the Bison were up 3 points at half, 42-39, and then as the game progressed, it became a 1-point game, and NDSU was leading 69-68 with 15 seconds left. Then the Bison get fouled. Jarius Cook at the free throw line. He sinks 1 out of 2. You know, the eyes are looking, oh man, what are we gonna do? Trying not to lose momentum, and then out of nowhere, Max Atmas sinks a 3 that just, the building went crazy. And when you're away, it just sucks because all the fans, you can't hear. You're trying to gather your thoughts. You're trying to lock in. I'm like, how can we win this game? And then Sam Griesel gets the ball inbound, takes it all the way, floats it, we win. We get out of there.
And you had mentioned Max Asmus. He was a big key to why they went to the Sweet 16 last year in March Madness. And, yeah, you know, him coming in clutch with only 7 seconds left, and you had to wonder, were the Bison going to be able to answer? Well, Griesel certainly did. And, yeah, you said that thing hung in the air forever before it came back down. It was heart-stopping to see that ball going up.
Yep. Sam Griesel, the guy that got, you know, practically the buzzer beater, got 18 points with 3 assists and 2 steals, shooting 7 for 11 from field goal.
Tyree Eady also had a heck of a game. He had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists.
And then on Tuesday, they played St. Thomas at home and won 77-56. I knew it was going to be brutal. You were at the game. Give us some insight.
So the thing was, the Bison actually struggled out of the gate right away. They fell behind 12-6 and missed a lot of their opening shots. But right after that, they shot 5 straight three-pointers and never looked back after that. They shot 50% from 3 and 56% from the paint. So, yeah, they were incredible when it came to shooting in that game.
Yeah, you get that's one of the things that I feel like we're improving on. You got multiple guys that can shoot at the 3. Rocky, obviously, he can shoot at a Grant Nelson, a big man, can get those 3 knocked down. Bowden Scumberg has been one of the guys that we kind of look for, along with Jarius Cook from the 3.
Yep. And, yeah, Sam Griesel as well. I mean, Malik Hayes. You got endless players who can shoot from the 3, and, you know, that if they're all shooting hot, it's a great recipe for success for this team.
Yep. So, you know,
and also slam dunks on the regular. Thanks to Malik Hayes.
Gotta love the slam dunks. I like to catch one every game because I love the dunks. You know, it's hard for me when we're recording or we're shooting. It's hard for me to stay in my my seat after it gets dunked. I have to keep my composure, get the shot, but I love those dunks. And then yesterday they played Rocky Cruiser.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Rocky Cruiser had 17 points that game with 11 rebounds and 3 assists.
Malik Hayes had 12 points and 5 rebounds. Tyree Eady also had 12 points.
Yep, and then yesterday they played South Dakota and also won 74-62 in overtime too.
It seemed almost like a reversal of the Western Illinois game from a few weeks ago, whereas when they got into overtime, Western Illinois just dominated in overtime and we couldn't get a single point, whereas this time we dominated overtime and South Dakota couldn't get a single shot. They only got 2 points in overtime, whereas we got 14.
And it was the exact same, you know, point spread. We scored 13 to their 2 against Western Illinois. We scored 2 to their 13.
Yeah, so it definitely goes to show that you need momentum going into the end of the game and going into overtime, because that game, nobody really had momentum. It was back and forth. It seemed like whereas one team got a shot, the other team had a counter for it every time.
Yep, and then Sam Griesel finished with 20 points with 11 rebounds and 2 assists. He was feeling it this week.
Tyree Eady had 17 points and 4 rebounds, and he's also been very good in all these games recently.
Yep, they are now 14-7 overall and 6-3 in the conference. Their next game is against SDSU in Brookings, South Dakota at 2 p.m. SDSU is 18-4 overall and 9-0 in the conference so far this season.
No, sorry.
This is going to be another tough game. You know, we only lost to them by 4 earlier in the season. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like you said, this is going to be their toughest test of the season. Can this team go into Brookings, South Dakota, and hand South Dakota State their first conference loss of the season and kind of solidify a second place spot in the Summer League standings?
Yep, and then switching gears to women's basketball, this previous Saturday they played Oral Roberts and won 74-70. Last week I mentioned they're beatable. I'm glad they got the win. You know, get some, I don't know, just get some oomph, like you said last week. Just get some oomph.
The season, unfortunately, for the women, it hasn't been very consistent. It's been a win-loss type of season. And it's not a terrible season by any standings. Even the games that they lose in, they stick around in a lot of them.
Yep.
But this game, thankfully, they were able to put it all together against an Oral Roberts team who was about on the same caliber and win the game.
Yep, Heather Hanley had 19 points and 2 steals.
Olivia Skeebel had 18 points and 6 rebounds, and Ryan Cobbins had 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists.
And then yesterday, they played the University of South Dakota and lost 78-59. What can I say? Where can I even start, man? In the beginning, they were looking pretty good. I say the first 2 minutes of the quarter, they were going toe-to, like they were really dominating.
Well, starting out the game on an 11-0 run against the conference leaders, that is impressive.
Right.
But unfortunately, South Dakota, you can't hold them down for long. They're one of the best teams in, the conference, and one of the best in the country.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the second and third quarter did not go the Bison's way. They unfortunately were outscored by about 8 or 10 points in each quarter. But then the fourth quarter, they kept steady, which is kind of interesting for the women's team this year. It seems like for 2 of the 4 quarters, they're able to keep steady.
Yep.
But then it's just those 1 or 2 quarters that just get away from them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I also saw the calls were affecting us. We were getting a lot of techs, fouls, and their spirits just kept getting lower, lower, and lower. But like you said, they were trying to keep steady. I know, at the end of the game, I'm glad they're changing the narrative that just because we're losing doesn't mean we're going to stop playing or stop playing hard. Those girls really tried their best to, shorten the lead, but it's just unfortunate. They are now 8-12 overall and 4-6 in the Summit League Conference. Their next game is on Saturday at 1 p.m. against South Dakota State.
Yeah, and at South Dakota State, it's another tough matchup for them. South Dakota's number 1, but South Dakota State's kind of the number 2 of the conference right now. So, it's going to be a very tough game, and it's one of those games you wonder, are they going to be able to keep up with them and stay with them a whole 4 quarters? I'm not sure if they can do that, but if they can, it's definitely a great sign for the team.
Yeah, make sure you guys tune into those games. When we come back, we're going to get into track and field and wrestling. We're doing.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
Welcome back. We're going to end this show with track and field and wrestling. So starting off with track and field, both teams competed at the Jim Emmerich Invite in Brooklyn, South Dakota, and they did good. So Jacob Roden set a new NDSU all-time best with 1 minute and 49 seconds in an 800 meter.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive for that. NDSU sophomore Nell Graham won the 400-meter dash in 56.38 seconds.
And the Bison swept the top 3 places in the shot put. Christopher Thompson took first, throwing 19 meters.
Alyssa Melvin took the triple jump title with a mark of 11.64 meters, approaching her indoor personal best.
And then the men's won the 4x4 relay, clocking 3:16.
Senior thrower Amanda Anderson won the shot put, throwing 15.31 meters, which is a new indoor personal best that ranks her 11th in NDSU history.
And then NDSU junior Brandon Lewis claimed the long jump, leaping 7.36 meters. And then freshman Braden Brown won the high jump, clearing 2 meters.
Senior Amy Phillips was the top collegiate finisher in the weight throw at 20.93 meters.
And then Josh Sims took first in the mile, running second fastest time of his career, 4:13.72.
Bison freshman Casey Cooper won the 800-meter dash in her collegiate debut.
Yep, so their next match is at UND at the Open in Grand Forks, and also at the Jock Johnson Classic in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think the throwers are going to Minnesota, and then the other half is going to be running at UND. It's always good to beat UND. I always say that, so hopefully they can get some first place wins over there.
Yeah, especially in your rival's territory, it's always nice to win there.
Yep, and then switching gears to wrestling, they had a rough week. Both teams lost their meets. It's just sad. On Saturday, they faced Northern Iowa and lost 13-29, and then on Sunday, they faced Iowa State and lost 9-26.
Yeah, Jared Franick, Owen Pence, Brandon Metz, they won their individual matches against Northern Iowa, and for Franick, it was his 11th win in a row for individual. But unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition on the Iowa State matchup. Kellen March and Luke Weber were the ones who won their individual matches against Iowa State.
Yep, so they're now 6-3 overall and 1-3. Oh, you got some more updates?
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, we're 6-3, which it doesn't look like a bad record until you realize that all 3 of our losses were our only 3 conference matches so far. That puts us dead last in the Big 12, unfortunately. And it's kind of understandable, though, because 2 of our 3 teams that we've lost to were in the top 10 nationally, and the Big 12 conference does have 4 teams in the top 25 nationally.
Yep, so their next meet is tomorrow against West Virginia at 1 p.m. at home. And then they return on Sunday to face off against Air Force Academy at 11 a.m. So hopefully we can get some dubs there. But, we got to dive back into the NFL for this weekend. So, you really think the Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs and the 49ers are going to beat the Rams?
Now, granted, the thing is, those 2 teams have already beaten those other teams before. The Bengals beat the Chiefs back in Week 17 in Cincinnati. Granted, that was in Cincinnati. And the 49ers have beaten the Rams the last 6 times they have played them. I feel more confident in the 49ers beating the Rams because I feel like Kyle Shanahan just has something on the Rams that nobody else has. He knows how to beat them no matter what he has. He beat them with Nick Mullins twice as the starting quarterback. He's beaten with Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like he can do it. Now, as for the Bengals, it's going to be a lot tougher. It's hard to go into Arrowhead, especially against Patrick Mahomes, and to beat Arrowhead in Kansas City. But I feel like they might have something. This is a special year for them. Joe Burrow and Shamar Chase have that special connection this year. This is just, I feel like they got something going this year.
I do agree with you that coaching matters on the aspect of when you talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, and the 49ers.
The 49ers, right? And the 49ers and the Rams. I do agree with you when you talk about the coaching aspect. That definitely doesn't matter. But the Rams defense and the Bengals, and the 49ers offense, that's just it's not a matchup.
Now the thing is with the Rams, what I'm worried about is they have a proclivity to make a lot of mistakes on offense, and that showed a lot last week. Their defense did a great job, but their offense made so many mistakes, and that's why the Bucs were able to get back into this game. Matthew Stafford threw a bunch of interceptions in the regular season that cost them games, and one of them was against Green Bay that I remember. So I've seen him make those kind of mistakes before. And I've seen him make those mistakes before, and they could come back to haunt him, unfortunately, in the playoffs if he doesn't play his cards right.
And then the Bengals and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I got the Chiefs because, like I said, Pat Mahomes, he's a competitor. He's not going to let that game slip away under any circumstances. And then you just saw the killer offense that just happened last weekend, so I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on their part.
Well, either way, it's going to be tough to beat those divisional matchups from last weekend, but you know what? We've seen crazier things. I feel like these games are going to be nuts.
Yep. Make sure you guys tune into those games. Make sure you tweet us on Twitter, Instagram us, or anything. Tell us what your predictions are. We'd love to know. Catch you next week. Go Bison.